Morning, everyone. Happy Sunday. I hope you all well. I been working on the teaching this morning in a slightly different setup, so I apologize for the delay. Perfect. I am coming through. So I'm going to take a moment and center a little bit, and then we will start. So today, I want to talk about a little bit about sacred sound and the effect on the body, which we've already been discussing with regard to mantra, but I wanted to speak about it with regard to music. And I've touched upon it before a little bit, but there's a little more I wanted to mention. How we can do it while doing yoga or stretching, how we could incorporate sacred sound to becoming whole. Personally, when I've been doing stretching or even working out or even walking, I've been listening to some of the music we've been playing, such as El Narifan Allah or the other ones. And I'm like, wow, I should share this with everyone. And as to why it works, especially now when we're discussing the body, it has a real effect on us. Listening to Ana Baroja when you're stretching puts us in our body in a certain mental state, a state of healing. And I wanted to discuss the Hebrew letter of Rafa and the importance of that song and why it's a good song to incorporate. I had mentioned that the word Rafa in El Narifan Allah, Lord, please heal us, is not just about healing what's ill, what's sick. It's not about that. It's a return to wholeness. It's a return to a fullness and a completeness. And that was really my intuitive sense. And when I looked on the Hebrew root of the word Rafa, to heal, it actually had the sense that I had given it. Let me pull this up here. For some reason it doesn't want to. What I'd saved is not showing. So, 1 second here. I just wanted to check on something here. Bear with me. So what it does, the context, if you remember, El na wifana la, please God heal her. Rafa is healing. Hebrew is a sacred language. The letters here have no vowels. There's normally little dots below that have the vowels, but in biblical Hebrew there are no vowels. So the ah isn't shown here. What you have, and it's written from right to left, you have resh, you have an r, the middle is a p, and you know the aleph, hey, and then you have the aleph, a. So r, f, a. And if you put in the vowels, it's ra, fa. Okay? 2 A's. There'd be a little dot between the one on the right and one in the middle. The ah is sacred. There is no sound. It's not pronounced at the end. So you get the ah under the pei sound. So what does this mean? When you have a root, which is this is a root, it can mean a lot of different things. These words can have a lot of different meanings on the semantic range of an actual word. And as I turn to my notes, with regard to the Tanakh in Hebrew, the word Rafa has a very wide scope. And when you hear the word Rafa, this is the mantra that you're seeing on your screen. See? Even looking at this contains what it is, a healing presence by the words. Yes? So the basic meaning, like we've been discussing, is to heal. Right? But it could also mean to repair, to restore. This root in Hebrew is used for healing a sick person, restoring something that is broken, repairing a ruined condition, mending a torn relationship, returning something to its proper function, to its proper use, to its proper working order, calming or easing what is inflamed, agitated, making whole what was fragmented, what's in pieces. Fragmentation means something that's been put to different pieces. And it comes from an older Semitic root implying to stitch together, to put back into working order. And it's been applied to water, land, altars, nations, emotional states, relationships, and spiritual condition. That's the ways that this word has been used in the Tanakh. So it's very, very wide-ranging. The other, I'll get to that in a little bit, but the other words for healing are much more precise in what they're directed towards. This one seems to encompass all the qualities that the other words for healing have. So it's all in one. Rafa, in a sense, has a very strong mantra quality to it. because of the energies of healing and what is contained in healing, what can be healed. So it's not just physical, it's emotional, it's other things, but as well as it's not necessarily healing, it's repairing, it's restoring, it's calming. It's reducing inflammation, agitation, heat. So it's very restorative verb. It's an active verb, to heal, right? All verbs, I guess, are active, but to heal, it's not purely medical. These points are important when we discuss the songs and how to incorporate it in our lives. So this is not my interpretation. Before, it was my interpretation. And as I did some study, I realized that my interpretation actually is actually based on the documented linguistic range of this word, how it's been used in Hebrew and in the Tanakh. So it's very much about restoring to a proper function. As I mentioned, to restoring to factory settings. Restoring water. Chapter 2 of Kings. Thus says Yahweh Vahe, Adonai, Hashem, whatever you wish. Yahweh, thus says Hashem, I have healed the waters. He uses the word Rafa for healed. I have Rafa the waters. In 1 King, chapter 18, verse 30, Elijah repairs Rafa's, the altar, making something whole again. I gave a few more examples. It implies, Rafa implies mending what is weakened or loose. In linguistic notes and in medieval Judaic commentaries, Jewish commentaries, it's connected to alleviating softness, looseness, slackness, or weakness. So it removes what is slack, what is loose, which shouldn't be loose. So it makes things tight. Strengthen what was weakened to make firm again. So weakness into strength. Yes. And there's a concept of bringing back into alignment, into a proper state, to correct, realign, restore into order, return to its intended function. This is not mystical. This is not an overlay. This is Hebrew linguistics of the word. This is literally what the word means. And in mantra, that is very, very important. It's not just sounds, which are very important, mind you, because we're working with sounds, but sounds with the use of time has what they actually mean. So embedded in the sound, in the syllables, has all of that built in. By saying this one word, we activate all of these qualities. See? Rafa is a mantra word. So you don't have to say, you could just say Rafa for a whole host of situations, without even necessarily bringing them to mind. That's the power of mantra. You say it in your body, in your mind, in what you say it even maybe out loud towards something. You don't need to really precise what it is exactly. Because wherever that energetic block, wherever that looseness or dysfunction or two wires not connecting, it senses and feels what that is and just mends it, heals it, repairs, restores. So obviously, if we're in a mental state or something hurts or something from the childhood and we know it's, a fight or whatever it is, we obviously have it in our mind. So when we say the word Rafa, we kind of know what it is. But when we're generally stretching or walking, not so much. We're stretching and walking, and we're not directing it to anything. Even, the tightness in our body, well, it's tight. We don't really, and if you have an injury, then, maybe we're directing it towards that. But we're just saying it generally as we stretch. And I'll get more into that in a little bit. So it's not like we're focusing it. It's sort of there in the background, going into our ears. Okay? So the proper alignment, the return to good condition, is completely within the language. It's completely within the tradition. And I like to mention, from example, how it's used in the Tanakh. And for people who are new and not familiar with the term, it's the Jewish Old Testament, which is basically almost but not completely all the books in what is more known in the Western world as the Old Testament. It's called the Tanakh. Okay? So healing a person physically. So in Exodus, and I'm going to use the name of God as it's written in the traditional text, respectfully. But words have power, which is why I say the word, because it has that original presence of God. Okay? And there's a certain transmission to it, which is important. So Exodus chapter 15, verse 26. I am Yadvevahe, your healer. Emotional, spiritual, healing of emotional, spiritual brokenness. Jeremiah chapter 3, verse 22. Return and I will heal your backsliding. Restoring to a more whole state. So maybe backsliding on what you agreed with to God, backsliding to your promises, or backsliding, that means moving away from your agreement to the covenant, on repairing. In Jeremiah, there's a lot going on. I'm not going to get too much, but he was a prophet, and he warned the state of Israel, the king at the time, to reform, to repair the ways, because there wasn't a lot of alignment to the covenant. So he was more preaching, wake up, return to God, or catastrophe will occur. Well, people did not return. Babylonians invaded, and it was destruction of the first temple, and then the Babylonian exile, where the Jewish people were brought to Babylon for about 80 years before they could return to where they lived. So Jeremiah was sort of ringing the alarm. So here it's saying, return, and I guess God will heal your backsliding, heal what your distance, your removal, your alienation from the covenant, from God, from behaving like you ought to behave. That's actually a really important one. So it heals emotional and spiritual brokenness. I want to check one thing. One moment, please. So it's what I've thought. I wanted to check. So I checked on ChatGPT. It says, return wayward children. I will heal your backslidings. So it's Yahweh himself that says, I will heal it. That spiritual soul repair and a change of mindset and sort of heal it. So you have to have the conscious choice of wishing to return, and he will repair what was broken, make it whole, permitting everybody to move forward. And there's a state of forgiveness. Return, and naturally there's a forgiveness because there's a healing that's extended, and there's a repair. And he was addressing Israel directly, as it could be said as a people, but Israel is a certain interesting term. It could also mean everyone who believes in God. So what it does is a removal from God, stepping away, apostasy, a spiritual betrayal, a rupture of the covenant, of agreeing to behave a certain way, agreeing to belong. It's a movement away. And so the word simply says, return to me. I will heal your turning away. So it's not a physical healing. So what he's dealing in the general, larger context here, which I touched upon, was people worshiping other gods, becoming spiritually estranged, and a loss of a certain inner coherence, an inner grounding to what's right and wrong, because there were actions that went along with other gods that wouldn't necessarily be considered correct. And then there's a loss of grounding, of doing actions that wouldn't be in keeping with the covenant, beyond worshiping other gods. So it's come back, repair what your rebellion has fractured. It's basically the message of Jeremiah. Literally a voice crying out in the wilderness, because a lot of people didn't listen. So that's important. It's a restoration of loyalty, repair of a broken relationship. There's a sense of a return to a spiritual integrity, healing of alienation and estrangement. And in a sense, it's God repairing the soul's departure from the truth. So we see a very important aspect of Rafa. Chronicles chapter 17, I will heal their land. So there's a sense of the land. A land is not sick, but yet there's a healing that goes on. A healing of a region. There's also a healing of water. In Psalms chapter 147, verse 3, he heals the brokenhearted. So restoring of a torn heart, of a heart that is hurt. So remove slackness, things that are weak or stretched, make firm again a heart, a land, or strength which has been weakened. Restore what has lost function, water that causes harm and becomes safe. That's in 2 Kings chapter 2. Thus says Yahweh, I have healed this water. mending a breach, relationships, nations, spiritual rifts. So there's other Hebrew verbs for repair. One is to repair something mechanically, wants to make whole, wants to strengthen, wants to establish, set right, and secure a foundation. So do you see how those are very, very precise to the function? Only Rafa, those letters, integrates the physical, emotional, spiritual, ecological, the land, nature, relational, between relationship of people, countries, and existential, our life, how we live, what we're connected to. It's a holistic, a complete restoration verb. That's what's make it a very powerful mantra. There are mantras that are very precise, and then the ones that just kind of have the whole enchilada, everything in it. The beans and the rice, I don't know if you're Mexican food, the whole enchilada, everything stuffed in. This is complete. In rabbinical texts, it's to repair character flaws, fix inner distortions, the mind, things that are off, things that are, not fully in focus or disturbances. Restore moral strength, returning a teaching to proper integration, i.e., you've learned something and your interpretation might be off, or the interpretation is off, or you've forgotten a portion of it. This brings it back to what it was intended. Also, to heal a community. So a rabbinical view is a restoration of proper order, not just body healing. Yes? In Kabbalistic texts, Lurianic and pre-Lurianic texts, it describes restoring broken vessels, realigning the sephirots, which we've discussed in the past, into harmony. Too much masculine, too much feminine, too much water, too much fire, all that's contained in the sephirots in our mental states, our relationship to God, which in turn manifests as the energy that's in our lives, that manifests physically in us. So this restores an energetic balance. So I would say it realigns the balance and the distortions of our chakras, of our body flows, and how our body processes energy to allow the flow to the upper chakras, to allow the flow in the central column of the sephirots up to Kether, God. Returning of the divine sparks in order. So I wanted to just touch onto each one, which I already have, but there's a couple I want to go back a little more. So what is meant by restoring broken vessels? It's the idea that spiritual or psychological structures are meant to hold light, meaning or responsibility becoming overwhelmed, that have become overwhelmed and fractured. The inner systems that are collapsing under pressure. Our sense of identity or coherence or wholeness is breaking apart. Values or emotional containers are failing. Restoring the vessels means rebuilding capacity, stabilizing the nervous system, reestablishing boundaries, strengthening inner resilience, learning how to hold experience without fragmentation. It's about regaining our spiritual structural integrity, becoming able to receive, process, and integrate our life again. And with regard to the Sephirots, which the Sephirots mention are qualities of consciousness, wisdom, compassion, discipline, balance, and the others. When they're out of alignment, it shows up as too much harshness, severity without compassion, too much emotion without it being grounded. So too much emotion, it's not skillfully applied. It's too excessive. It's too much or not enough emotion. You're cold. You're too grounded. So it's not too hot, not too cold. Too much intellect with no heart. Or too much heart with no intellect on how it's applied. Or realizing too much heart and there needs to be a correction, otherwise a disaster might unfold. So there's too much giving. When it should be a little bit more less giving. Or no charity when there should be charity extended. Yes? Or in actions, you work too much without the rest. Or you don't apply yourself, you do nothing. So there's no action of working or studying or reading or doing the garden. So it's on all aspects of the life we want to restore in a proper balance. Not too much of one thing and not having enough of something as well. And realignment has a sense of restoring strength balanced by kindness, clarity balanced by humility, action balanced by reflection. We think, then we act. We don't act without thinking, or we don't overthink, which never leads to any action. So we have a psychological and proper ethical integration. They come together with our psychology and ethics, our alignment, which restores the balance between our thinking, our feeling, and our doing. We become more and more like God in our actions, like children that have matured and become adults appropriately, that they themselves are proud of who they've become, that they're pillars in the community, that people view them as good people, and they are, through their thoughts, their actions, and their words. They've found Rafa. Things have returned into balance. There's also a sense of healing fractures of the soul, those inner splits within us, the broken shards that's being mentioned, that are caused by trauma, betrayal, loss, or prolonged stress. It could appear as us being disassociated from ourselves, our friends and family, our society, the world. Chronic fear or shame. Our identities are really split and broken into pieces. And we have a loss of trust in ourselves or in life. And the healing means we reconnect to the body, our body. We restore an emotional wholeness to ourselves. We integrate and heal painful experiences. And we bring back parts of ourselves that have gone silent, that were shut down, that we weren't able to access. So we become whole internally rather than living in pieces. So in a way, with the sparks, we're reclaiming our scattered goodness and clarity or meaning from chaos, from disorder. We find purpose after collapse. We restore dignity after humiliation. We bring back awareness to forgotten parts of our lives, of ways we used to be, of things that we could no longer access, such as art or joie de vivre, or things that gave us happiness. And we also can reorder our priorities around what truly matters. We get back on the path. We realize we're doing things we really don't care for, and we got there for whatever reason. We just start realigning and start living authentically to how we would like to be, in accordance with what's right. So we rebuild what's broken, we restore balance, we integrate the fragmented parts, and we bring any chaos back into order. It's a very deep restoration of our humanness, our humanity. So I just want to give a few more examples from the Tanakh. When he heals the broken-heartedness, he also heals their wounds, binds their wounds, he packages their wounds. It's a care, it's a doing what's needed to heal. Yeah, I'm just going through them, and it's just bringing in a future of light, abundance, and divine presence. All suffering is restored. Also could mean a sense of, in Isaiah chapter 30, is a healing, could be seen as a healing of a collective trauma, healing the deep fractures caused by exile to Babylon. Isaiah came after Jeremiah as Israel was coming, the people were coming back into the land of Israel from the Babylonian exile. So Isaiah here is coming about healing from the collective trauma of being enslaved and taken out of their land and living in a foreign land with a foreign religion and basically being captured people. So it's healing the deep pain from exile, healing from the lack of discipline that gave rise to this situation, and healing from the collapse of their society, from their state, from everything they've had. So it's a repair of a community, of a people. It's not an isolated cure of one specific thing or one specific person. So Rafa has the aspect of heal our society, heal our world. It's a very broad healing. So it's used very much to restore a person, a heart, a nation, a relationship. It's used for water, for land, social conditions, and also our alignment to the covenant. Proper living, proper eating, proper treating ourselves, treating others, what we do, what we don't do. And it's not like a whole book of rules and our lights all uptight. It's like you don't steal, you don't hurt anyone, you don't kill anyone. You treat with kindness, with forgiveness, with humility. So that's basically just being a good person. We all know what we should do in a situation. We all know right from wrong. It's just saying, do what's right. It's not a whole list and, oh my God, and we have to dress this way and this and that. It's very much doing right from wrong. It keeps with the covenant. Now, if you happen to be Jewish, this is what's kosher and not kosher. But that's, something belonging to particular people, and people might look into that and see if that's something they want to do. But for the most part, this isn't a massive laundry list of directives. It's basically be a good person and integrate God somewhere in your life. That's what's meant by covenantal alignment. And ultimately, the covenant rests in the 10 Commandments. And from that, people have taken things of that and added examples of what it would mean to keep that covenant in certain ways, which some people follow and some don't, and some are more strict and some are more lenient towards. It's different ways of interpreting. So using the name Rafa. So all of this, which I've mentioned, is to have an understanding of the word when we use it in music, when we use it in vibrational use. Now we understand what the word means. It's very important. It has a lot of meaning. It's 360 degrees. It's a complete healing of anything, basically. And it's not just me saying it. We saw the 10 passages, and there's many more, of how the word is used by God, by people, and what it's meant was used under these contexts. Yes? So we have played several different songs. And those who've been with me for a while know quite well where they are, because it's hard to find songs that have the right tone, the right way it's said, with the right words for it to really be a blessed song. Because this is not normal music. It's not just spiritual music. It's mantra transmission for healing music. Do you see? It's like golden music, and it's hard to find. And I hope I'll receive more examples so we could broaden our repertoire. So we have been playing Misha Berha, right? This one. We just pop it in. Just play a second. Well, you know what? I'll just play on my computer. Sound familiar? Very. El Na Rifan Allah. This one. Well, you know what? I'll just play on my computer. Yes? And then, of course, Ana Beroja. Yes? So these three I have placed in a new file on the archive.org, which I love. It's a new page. It has an organizational thing that all MPEGs videos go in the same place, and I cannot create subfolders. So I'm sorry for all the noise in the background. I hope you're not hearing all this. This was supposed to be a quiet spot. I wanted to be in nature today because we're going to do the yoga together, and there's people with horrible cars making horrible noise. So I just don't understand that mentality. It's I think it's distorted. But anyway, so regain my thought. So I've created on archive.org. I had to do another one because they would have included the songs along all my teachings, and you would have never found it. It would have been depending on the name in alphabetical order and not to be found. So there's a new link, which at some point I will orient all the links and list them all in there just for the music. And right now I have these 3 songs. I'll put on different music, like the song from Victory, the video of El Shaddai, and maybe the Blessing if people like that, with the priestly blessing that's sung. And this is someone, Avnu Malikenu with Barbara Streisand I've played. That's also a very powerful song of blessing. And there's some other ones that I have found in the past. But these 3 are there, and the link is in the description to this live teaching. And just click on it, and you go down to the bottom, and you click on what's there. What is it? Described this before. It sort of works for all the archive channels. It says MPEG files. Done. The songs are above. You could play them on there, and you go below, and they'll have MPEG 4 on the right for download options. And you will see on the top right there on the right, download the 3 files, and I'll have the name of the files, and then you have them. And this is what I've been doing. When I've been stretching, I play one of them, and I have it on continuous repeat. And it's sort of in the background. I find the music very calming. You don't have to focus on the words. You just listen to the beauty, and you have it on repeat. And the repeat is heard through the ear, the sacred sounds. So these songs have a lot of words in them. Ana Behoha, I don't believe, has the word Rafa in it. But it's a prayer. It's a very powerful prayer. It helps return us in alignment to God. It's a spiritual, religious realignment, psychological realignment, a realignment of the Sephirots. So it's a precise prayer with a spiritual focus. Yes? So it would be a Rafa type prayer. Misha Berha, as you've noticed, has a whole host of different words to it. And all of it is a prayer. So you're hearing it. You don't have to know what it means. All these sacred sounds of Hebrew are coming into your being through your ears as you're stretching. You could focus on your stretch. The music and its tone is filling your system with the blessings of those sounds. Misha Berha is an ancient prayer that holds a lot of blessings. The words itself holds blessings. There's God's holy name that's said in the prayer. Blessings on top of blessings on top of blessings. And all you're doing, you're at your gym at home and you're doing your stretching. But that is what's going into your system while you're in movement. While you're learning to relax. While you're lengthening your body. And then that's going into those tendons, into those bones, into your mind, into your blood, into your heart. So you're using a mantra, which this whole prayer, Mishabeha, Ana Behoha, or what's the El Na Refanala, can be considered a mantra. Mantra doesn't have to be 1, 2, 5 words. They could be 100-word mantra. The words are that powerful. And it's entering into your system. And all you're doing is listening to it while you're gardening, listening to it when, I don't know, you're playing tennis, I don't know, anything. You listen to it when you're reading and it's in the background. The vibration, the healing aspect, I find it very soothing. Sometimes it's a very golden light. You don't have to take that song and make it about, I need to heal this or that. You're just simply doing this thing and it's lining up your sephiroth. It's healing your chakras. And this is the power of sacred sound. Ana Baroha, for me, makes me feel very spiritual. It's a prayer. It's a Kabbalistic prayer. The most famous one that some people recite nightly, every day. So the words, the sounds, the way it sounded, only certain voices I've used. They studied music. They're on key, the right tone, the right speed, the right instruments, the right voices, the right volume. It's balanced. It's not distorted. It's clean. Do you see all the attributes? Because you have to be careful what you put in your ears. It affects your minds. It affects your emotions. It affects your hearts. Music can affect your behaviors. We're highly influenced by what we hear, what we see, the examples we see, the words, the intent of music. So when we do Mishaberha, this is positive input that's thought through carefully. Yes? So it's a thing. And it's something that I would like people to consider, to include, if they're drawn to it. And I'll add some more over the next couple days. I need to review it and see, does it rise to that level? Or at least something you might be interested to listen in once in a while, if you feel called to it. Sort of have a one spot where you can go to for devotional music, healing music, healing of the mind, the body, the soul, community, our environment. Amen and shalom. So I hope this has been, helpful to you. So why don't we take a moment, take a little break. I'm curious to see how much the sound that's behind me comes through. I'm hoping none of it. And we'll do a stretch together, a little yoga, whatever it is for you. Now, if you know the whole movements of things, then, God bless. I don't particularly know that. I go on the floor. I do some things that could make people's eyes water when they look at me. But it's very much from what I've learned, what works for me, as well as a lot of very basic stretches that we all learned in gym class, or we've been taught to repair our backs, or to help with foot problems. All of that is included. So I invite you to find a mat or on your floor or somewhere comfortable where we can play these songs several times while we stretch together. I know I feel tight. I could use a good stretch. And so we will listen together some of these songs. We will repeat them together while we stretch. And that will be the form of our prayer today. Or maybe at the very end, we'll do some mantras as well. How does that sound? Wonderful. So why don't we do, no, I don't know. How about 7 minutes? Well, people have to set up. So I have to watch my batteries. So, well, if people don't mind, how about 7 minutes? Is that good? And wonderful. So I'll see you all soon. Oops, sorry about that. So I let's do this. I apologize. I had set up everything on my computer to make sure there would be plenty of power. And I thought I did it really intelligently to maximize power, to save the battery life. And I bought a battery, but all the ports on my computer are full, and now I can't plug it into the battery. So if we lose signal, please go right back on the YouTube channel, and I will go live immediately on a new link. And we will just continue where we left off. But when I engaged to remove one of the USB lines, I will sadly probably lose the connection. And I'll warn you, hopefully, or if it suddenly goes dead, just hop to a new link and we'll continue. Because us doing it together is a form of community healing. We're all doing a healing practice together. And I find it a beautiful thing, and it's also makes it powerful. So we will play one of the songs that I listen to all the time when I stretch. And you just have it in the background with its beauty. And there we are. And I will just continually replay it again and again. Maybe we'll do it for about 15 minutes or so while you stretch. This is part of our focus on working with the body. And we're infusing these healing words and sounds as we're stretching. And it really penetrates our whole body and penetrates the places we're stretching, where our awareness goes, and we feel it because that's the part we're stretching, so goes energy. And so as the sounds into our ear, they get particularly focused where we physically stretched, as well as it enters our ears, it goes through our minds and our senses and into our nervous system, which affects our heart, everything in our body. And so we're adding an additional level of religious infusion, because these are religious songs, divine names, they contain divine names. The word Rafa, which we've discussed at length today, and the sounds, just the sounds and the melodies and the voices, all of which bring forth a healing that we could bring into our lives with something we would normally do. Yes? Wonderful. So we will start playing, we will start stretching, and at some point, if I need to switch, I'll let you know, and we'll pick up on a new link, okay? Off we are. Oh, one thing, if you're not familiar with the song or you want to refresh, just, read the lyrics or go through it once while it's being said. But this is not about knowing what it's being said. It's good to know, so you should take a read so you know what the lyrics are about. But this is just about listening. The sacred sound, the sacred words, the blessings it contains, it all takes care of itself. It's all embedded in the sounds. You don't need to know what they mean. This is a mantra teaching. However, the mantra does itself, right? However, it makes it much more powerful when you know what they mean. So you should know what they mean. And so take a quick look. But as you're listening, I don't know what they're saying on a particular verse, but I know what the overall song is saying. And I think that's important. So you're focusing on your thing and you're listening to the beautiful song, and you know the content of the song generally. This is not about being able to follow. And it's not about necessarily focusing on the song. It's sort of in the background. You could be focusing on what you need to do later, a problem you have while you're stretching. We could use our time for many things, or we're just trying to meditate and center, and our meditation is the stretch, and we keep our minds on the stretch and being present as we do our stretches. And that's a meditation. And we could have the soundtrack to that meditation, right? And we keep our minds present without allowing ourselves to think about other things. That's a form of anchoring our awareness, and it's a form of meditation coupled with prayer, because our intent is prayerful with the music, you see? But just as well, sometimes we have we think about something and things come to us. Like this whole teaching came to me earlier in the week while I was stretching. And then I realized this teaching came to me 3 weeks ago, and I had mentioned there's something I want to speak to about, but I got to check things about. And it also came to me to do this like 2-3 months ago, but I had forgotten. So important things can come through. And that's okay to take that time to contemplate and to reflect. But then it's no longer a meditation. It's a contemplation. Do you see? Contemplate is the use of the mind. You reflect on something is the use on the mind. Meditation is something else. There's a linguistic problem in English. People say, I meditated on something. No, that's a lack of the understanding of the word meditation is. They're using it in a different way than I'm using, and most people use the word meditation to mean. What they're saying, I'm contemplating something. I thought about something, or I reflected on something. Meditation is about being present. You're not using your mind. You're keeping your mind still in the present moment. That's meditation. Or you're trying to. Your mind goes off and you bring it back. The act of meditation is the decision to bring your mind back when you're aware that it has drifted off on something. No judgment. You just come back. I'm present. That's meditation. But it is perfectly okay to use the music in the background and to stretch, and while contemplating a situation or contemplating, because the music is still entering you and having its an effect. So it's not meant to be something solid, and it can be looser, but you're taking a moment in your day to bring in sacred sounds to bless you while you do things which you need to do as people that are productive or are reflective. So it's a very open, spacious practice, okay? But as we do it together, we're going to use it as a meditative aspect. So don't focus about yesterday, 2 minutes ago, or in the... Well, this is where it might come up. Or it's so overwhelming, you can't quite escape what's going on. Then it becomes about that. You're in the soup of it. Your presence is in the soup of that. And therefore, it's okay. Don't push it away. You bring that in. You never push anything away. You bring it in. That's your presence. Your present moment is that heaviness. So you're in that, the trauma or whatever it is, while you do your stretches, while you listen to the sacred music. You can have a prayer, God, please heal me. And for you, it's psychological, or you have a physical illness. So you are focused on the psychological aspect. You are focused on the physical aspect, or you are focused on the family aspect that's troubling you. And that's okay, because remember, the word Rafa, it has connections to all of that. So you're at a part and you're in that. And therefore, your practice is about that. And that's how it should be. Yes? You're doing your stretches, and there's not so much that heaviness or something pulling you. So you're using it to and open, because you don't have something that's so in your face or so pulls you. Yes? But this is meant to be healing. You come to the mat, you come to the practice as you are. You work with where you are. You're not pushing away mental states or emotions or pain. You bring it all into your practice, and it's present. But you don't also allow yourself to get distracted about things or that, unless there's something really important, like an important meeting tomorrow. So when you're stretching, you're contemplating the personalities, how you're going to go about it, what you're not going to say, what you want to say, and try to think, maybe I should add something else. And that's okay. You're using it as a contemplation, and that's important too. But we've invited in the sacred. Remember, Rafa hits the sifra of our thoughts, too tight, too loose. Too much intellect, not enough intellect. Too much heart, and not enough of a balance to the heart. And all of that helps for that meeting, helps the decisions. So we're basically bringing a soundtrack in of help. And may it help all of us. Let us begin.
La החולים, את החולים, אל הרפאה, אל
How was that? You know, sometimes having a musical soundtrack to what we're doing helps put us in a frame of mind, bathe us in spirituality, holiness, in prayer, in healing, helps anchor our minds to the present because we're focused on our body, what we're focusing on, what we're feeling, and then we're also having input from our ears. So there's very lessened ability for our mind to wander unless there's something very present with us. And then it's totally fine for it to be what we are dealing with. Let's do some mantras together. How about Yahweh Rafa? Just to continue. So if those have their prayer beads near them, don't move. You could take them out. We'll do it together. Also, when you listen to music like this, try to have the speaker either all around you because it's balanced, or if you have one, have it in front of you. That way it's entering the left and the right side of your body evenly to the left and right ear. And, of course, you could use headphones. So it's better not to have the music directed coming from the left side. So try to orient yourself, or just have one right in front of you. It'll help balance and make the experience more immersive. All right. Proper posture. Yahweh Rafa, Yahweh Rafa, Yahweh Rafa, Yahweh Rafa, Yahweh, Yahweh Rafa, Yahweh Rafa. Just saying it, and we're relaxing into the recitation, the repeating of the name with Rafa. Yahweh Rafa, 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 Yahweh. Yahweh Rafa, 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 Yahweh Rafa. can also think of certain situations or things, whatever that we feel needs the Rafa type healing, and we call it to mind as we recite the name. And that energy goes to whatever that is. And we don't need to force it or direct it. We just call whatever it is to our mind, and we just say the name Yahweh Rafa, Yahweh Rafa, Yahweh Rafa. With the visualization, you just have to call it up briefly. You don't hold on to it. You just send the energy and maybe keep the visualization if you want for 10, 15, 20, 30. But normally, once you summon what that is, you just say the mantra. So we just say the mantra for a little bit now. We release, we let go, we relax, we breathe, we exhale. Just Yahweh Rafa, Yahweh Rafa, Yahweh Rafa, Yahweh Rafa, Yahweh Rafa, Yahweh Rafa, Yahweh Rafa. she pronounces it Rafa, a modern Israeli way of pronouncing it in the spoken sense. So it's kind of conjugated. Rafa is the traditional pronunciation. So either one is correct, but it's more Rafa is biblical and Rafa is more spoken in the everyday conjugated sense. So I wanted to mention that. Also, you can remember, you can just say it, Rafa, Yahweh Rafa, if you see a hurt animal or, you're hurt. Put your hand to the place you're hurt and say Yahweh Rafa, right? Or you could repeat it, Yahweh Rafa, Yahweh Rafa. You could also direct it to someone, even if they're further away, like the other side of the word away, or they're within sight. You direct that energy, Yahweh Rafa, towards them, if it's safe to do to. Some people can sense energy directed towards them. So if you see aggression coming back, don't stop doing it, right? So I hope this has been helpful to you. For me, researching this and contemplating it has really expanded my connection to it, and I think has really grown the power of when I say the name, because our understanding of something very much helps us tap into its nature and to bring it forth. So may we all find healing. May we all be blessed. May our families and our world find healing. We ask this to our God, El Shaddai. Amen. Thank you so much for joining me this wonderful day. I wish you a very beautiful week, and I look forward to being with you all soon. Thank you so much.